The sun dipped low over the savannah, casting golden rays across the endless grasslands of the Masai Mara. A weathered acacia tree stood alone, its gnarled branches swaying in the evening breeze. Beneath it lay Simba, an old lion, his once mighty mane now patchy and gray. His amber eyes, clouded with age, stared into the distance, searching for a figure he hadn't seen in 10 years. Every evening for a decade, Simba had come to this tree, waiting. The pride had long since moved on, but Simba stayed. He was waiting for him, Keto, the boy who had saved his life. 10 years ago, Simba had been a young, powerful lion, the king of his pride. His roars echoed across the plains, and no challenger dared face him. But one dry season, a poacher's trap changed everything. A steel snare, hidden in the grass, clamped around Simba's leg, cutting deep into his flesh. The more he struggled, the tighter it became. Pain seared through him, and his roars turned to whimpers as he lay helpless, the pride unable to free him. That's when Keto appeared. He was just a boy, no older than 12, from a nearby Maasai village. Keto had been tending his family's cattle when he heard Simba's cries. Against his father's warnings to stay away from lions, Keto's curiosity and compassion drew him closer. He saw the trap, the blood, and the lion's desperate eyes. Most would have run, but Keto didn't. He approached slowly, speaking softly in Swahili, his voice steady despite the fear in his chest. Simba, weak from pain, sensed the boy's intent. He lay still as Keto worked, using a stick to pry the snare open. It took hours, and Keto's hands bled from the effort, but he freed the lion. Simba, too weak to stand, could only watch as Keto ran back to his village for help. The boy returned with his father, who carried water and herbs to clean the wound. They stayed with Simba through the night, ensuring he survived until he could limp back to his pride. Before they parted, Keto knelt beside Simba, placing a small beaded bracelet on the ground, a gift from his mother, a token of protection. Simba nudged it with his nose, as if understanding its meaning. From that day, a bond formed between the lion and the boy, unspoken but unbreakable. But life in the Mara was harsh. Simba never saw Keto again. The pride moved on. New leaders rose, and Simba grew old, his body scarred and his strength fading. Yet he never forgot the boy. Every evening, he returned to the acacia tree, lying beside the faded bracelet, now half buried in the earth, waiting for Keto to return. Now, 10 years later, Simba was a shadow of his former self. His ribs showed through his thinning fur, and his steps were slow. The other lions avoided him, sensing his weakness. Hyenas circled closer each night, waiting for the old king to fall. But Simba's eyes still burned with purpose. He would wait until his last breath. Unbeknownst to Simba, Keto had never forgotten him either. Now a young man of 22, Keto had grown up in Nairobi, studying wildlife conservation. The memory of the lion he'd saved fueled his passion. He'd spent years training, learning about the animals of the Mara, and dreaming of returning. But life in the city was relentless. School, work, and family responsibilities kept him away. Still, the beaded bracelet he wore, a twin to the one he'd left with Simba, was a constant reminder of the lionhood changed his life. One day, Keto received a message from a ranger in the Mara. An old lion, scarred and alone, has been spotted near an acacia tree, refusing to leave. The ranger's description matched Simba perfectly: the scar on his leg, the faded mane. Keto's heart raced. Could it really be him? Against all odds, had Simba survived? Dropping everything, Keto packed a bag and caught the next bus to the Mara, a 6-hour journey that felt like an eternity. As the bus rattled through dusty roads, Keto's mind replayed that day 10 years ago. He remembered Simba's eyes, fierce yet trusting, and the weight of the moment when he'd freed the lion. He wondered if Simba would remember him more if the lion was even still alive. The savannah was unforgiving, and 10 years was a lifetime for a lion. Back at the acacia tree, Simba's strength was fading. That morning, a hyena had lunged at him, testing his resolve. Simba had roared, a weak but defiant sound, and the hyena retreated. But he knew they'd return soon, and he might not have the strength to fight. As the sun began to set, Simba lay down, his head resting near the bracelet. His breathing was shallow, but his eyes remained fixed on the horizon. Cato arrived at the ranger station as dusk fell. The ranger, a grizzled man named Juma, handed him a flashlight and a radio. "If it's your lion, he's not got much time," Juma warned. "He's old, and the hyenas are closing in." Cato nodded, his throat tight, and set out on foot, guided by Juma's directions. The savannah was alive with sounds: crickets, distant roars, the cackle of hyenas. Cato's heart pounded, not from fear, but from the weight of what he might find. As he approached the acacia tree, Cato saw a shape in the fading light. It was Simba, lying still, his eyes half open. Cato's breath caught. Was he too late? He called out softly, "Simba, it's me, Cato." The lion's ears twitched, and his head lifted slightly. Those amber eyes, though dim, locked onto Cato's. Recognition flickered in them, faint but undeniable. Cato knelt a few feet away, tears stinging his eyes. "You waited," he whispered. Simba let out a low rumble. Not a roar, but a sound of acknowledgement. Cato reached out, hesitant, and saw the faded bracelet in the dirt. He picked it up, holding it beside the one on his wrist. Simba's gaze followed the movement, and he shifted, trying to rise. His legs trembled, but he managed to sit up, his eyes never leaving Cato. For a moment they sat in silence, the boy who was now a man and the lion who had defied time. The savannah seemed to hold its breath. Then a chilling cackle broke the stillness. Hyenas, 3 of them, emerging from the shadows. Their eyes glinted in the flashlight's beam, and they circled closer, sensing Simba's weakness. Cato's heart raced. He couldn't let Simba die like this, not after all these years. He stood, grabbing a fallen branch and shouting, trying to scare the hyenas off. But they were bold, driven by hunger. Simba growled, a sound that carried the echo of his former strength, and struggled to his feet. He stepped forward, placing himself between Cato and the hyenas, his body swaying but his resolve unbroken. Cato's mind raced. He couldn't fight them alone, and Simba was too weak. Then he remembered the radio. Fumbling, he called Juma, his voice urgent. "Hyenas, at the acacia tree." "Hurry," Juma's voice crackled back. "Hold on, we're coming." The hyenas lunged, and Simba roared, a sound that shook the night despite his frailty. He swiped at one, his claws grazing its flank, but the effort cost him. He stumbled, and Cato swung the branch, striking another hyena. The third circled, waiting for an opening. Cato stood beside Simba, their bond stronger than fear. Headlights pierced the darkness as Juma's jeep roared into view. The ranger fired a warning shot into the air, and the hyenas scattered, their cackles fading into the night. Juma and another ranger jumped out, rushing to Cato's side. Simba collapsed, his strength spent, but he was alive. Cato knelt beside him, stroking his mane gently. "You did it, Simba. You held on." The lion's eyes met his, calm now, as if he'd fulfilled his purpose. Juma placed a hand on Cato's shoulder. "He's old, Cato. He won't last much longer." "But he waited for you." Cato stayed with Simba through the night, under the acacia tree. Kita, they sat as they had 10 years ago, the bracelet between them. As dawn broke, Simba's breathing slowed, and with one final rumble, he closed his eyes. Cato buried his face in the lion's mane, weeping for the friend who had waited a decade to say goodbye. In the days that followed, Cato returned to Nairobi, but he was changed. He dedicated his life to protecting the Mara's wildlife, telling Simba's story to anyone who would listen. The acacia tree became a symbol of their bond, and Cato planted a new bracelet there, a promise to never forget. And so, the old lion's wait had not been in vain. His final roar, his final stand, had brought Quito back not just to save him, but to carry his legacy forward. The savannah would remember them both, the boy and the lion, forever bound by courage, loyalty, and love.